have some kind of like back and forth as we go through this. Chop has actually prepared a handful of questions in case it goes quiet for us to go through as well. So with that, as it kind of said in my bio, so I went to the Air Force Academy and graduated in 2001. And in all honesty, I'm doing exactly what I've been wanting to do since I was 12. I saw the academy when I was that age. My mom told me it was hard to get into. I said challenge accepted, and decided that's where I wanted to go. When I went there, I figured I was going to graduate, become a fighter pilot, be married by 25 with 2.5 kids. That's what I thought was going to happen. In reality, none of that happened except getting married, but I was 38 when I got married. And so I kind of highlight that just to point out, even from the beginning, that you can't plan your life and you can't plan your career based off what you think is going to happen or based off what everybody else is doing. All you can really do is excel or shine wherever you are, do the best job where you're planted, um, and then take it from there. Um, and I highly encourage everyone to, whatever opportunities you're given, take advantage of those opportunities and don't look at what other people have, but look at what you have in front of you, and then strive to be great at whatever it is that you have been given to do. So right now, for most of you captains, you need to become extremely proficient at where your career field is. You need to be the best CE officer, the best. I'm looking through some of the names from people I know, the best pilot, the best whatever your career field is, the best LRO that you can be at this stage of your career. Because after that, we're going to expect more of you. And if you haven't built that foundation of knowledge in your own career field, it's going to be really hard to play catch up later. Um, so after the academy, I did actually go to pilot training for a little bit. It did not work out. That's not where I was supposed to be. I ended up going to nav school instead, which worked out really well. I did 2 flying assignments, one at Little Rock with a lot of deployments to the Middle East, and then one to Ramstein with a lot of TDYs all over Europe and Africa, supporting AFRICOM and EUCOM. Probably AFRICOM actually, I don't think existed back then, but they were getting close to. Um, and then from there, I started a series of just kind of broadening assignments. I came here to the CRW where I learned about contingency response operations. Then I was a planner at the AOC, 618th AOC, used to be called TACC, where I planned C-17 and C-5 missions all over the world. I was a C-130 guy. I never thought about C-17s and C-5 missions. So I got a really good crash course in how to plan those, what they can do, what their capability is. And then from there, one of my first big opportunities came. I got a call, asked if I was interested in deploying for a year to be a DO of a maintenance and aeroport squadron in Kuwait. And it took me just a little bit of time to go, yes, actually, that's a great opportunity. I want to go do this early in my career. For us rated guys, I'll tell you, we typically don't DO until we're lieutenant colonels. We are a little bit later than most career fields getting into DO and commander pipelines. I got to do it as a major. What that did is it opened up a series of opportunities for me afterwards, because now I've got my foot in the door of the en route structure, Air Mobility Command's en route structure, where we've got C-5, C-17 maintainers all over the world to help facilitate cargo movement, in addition to passenger terminals and aerial ports to facilitate the cargo movements. So I got my foot in that door. I did a fairly good job there, and they're like, hey, we want to bring you up to our group in Spain and have you be in Spain for 2 years. I was like, okay, done deal. I'll go there. And then that led to my squadron command in the same structure in Japan. So after that, senior lieutenant colonel, you start interviewing for jobs. You start throwing your name in the hat for every opportunity you can get. I got selected to go be chief of senior leader management, which is for Air Mobility Command, which is a developmental position. And I ran colonel assignments and chief assignments for Air Mobility Command for a year. Then after that, I got to go to school with the Marines, which was really cool. Didn't have to do pull-ups. I'll dispel any rumors about Marine War College. It is fantastic. It is small. and there is no physical fitness requirement. So you don't have to worry about pull-ups and chin-ups and whatever else the Marines do to stay in phenomenal shape. And then after that, I got a chance to go work on the Hill and liaise between Transcom and Congress. Each assignment, almost entirely across the board, I thought I was going to do something else until I got my orders. I thought I was going to command somewhere else. I thought that my outplacement from command was going to be somewhere else. And it's just a continuing reminder for me that I never know what's going to happen next. And there's a little bit of, you got to have faith in the system. You got to use the system. So for all of you guys, it's Talent Marketplace. You have to go into Talent Marketplace. You have to be honest on where you want to go, what you like, the 5 stars, the locations, jobs you're interested in. And then you've got to be honest with yourself about those, and then let the system work its magic as it pulls everything together. And then realize the assignment you get is the assignment you get, and that is your next chance or opportunity to excel. So with that, I will say that some unique things about my career, and this is one where it's a little counter, where I say don't look at what other people do, and say, okay, I can do that. Everyone's got their own path, but I did spend 18 of my first 20 years at the wing level or below. I did not really get into staff work until I was a graduated squadron commander. And a lot of my peers had done staff work, and I thought I was falling behind. But I wasn't. I just did it later in my life. So I got MAGCOM and joint tours done after squadron command. I've gotten to see and do a bunch of really neat things in my career. Some of it's right place, right time. Some of it is just raising my hand and saying, sure, I will take that. Or I want to go lead there. And so for my opening, what I'll just double down on is, you don't know what opportunities you're going to get, but when they're there, analyze them, take a hard look at what opportunities you get. You don't know how many you're going to get, and they may not be the same that your buddy got, but they are still opportunities nevertheless. So with that, I'll take a pause, and then let Chop kind of run through some questions, and then you guys can run through questions or however you guys want to do questions.
Hey, thank you for that, sir. To our audience and attendees today, just feel free to type in any questions you have, concerns, come on live here. But certainly one of the first things that I think people would really like to know is what really keeps you motivated and help you continue to serve, and as long as you've done, and where do you what keeps you up and going? Over, sir.
Yeah, so I don't really want to do anything else. I have a general belief that the grass is not greener anywhere else. I still wake up and I still enjoy putting on the uniform and serving. I still enjoy the structure and the discipline that the military provides, my work life and my personal life. And I did not come from a military family. Actually, nobody in my family had been in the military. I think both my grandfathers were drafted for World War II and served for a couple years, but they didn't make a career of it, and they didn't really talk about it. I just knew that this is something that I felt kind of pulled towards when I was young. And I still have, every day I look forward to doing this. So my motivation is that I still look forward to coming here. I still look forward to work, and I still look forward to the difference that I think that I can make in the lives of the airmen in my group. So that's what keeps me motivated to serve. I will tell you that works for me. I think given our current climate right now, one of the most secure jobs out there might be active duty military. So I will pass that on for anybody who's on the fence about what they want to do in the next couple of years. At the 10-year point, I had said to myself, at 10 years, I'm either going to get out and do something else, or I'm going to stay in and retire. And that was the decision point for me. It was roughly when some of my commitments were done. It was about the halfway point where I could transfer to the reserves or a guard unit, and maybe look for things outside the military. But I didn't really think about it too long. I like the stability. I will say stability in the military, although it is a little unstable with like TDYs and deployments. But by and large, it's fairly stable, controlled tours, very transparent assignment cycle for everybody now. Um, so yeah, I think that kind of answers it. I still wake up and really like doing this. Uh, and so that's why I continue to serve. I still think I can make a difference.
Well said, sir. Thank you for that, especially the perspective there. At our CGO level, some of the things that we are charged with is taking care of our troops. From that perspective, what are, as an Air Force leader and a commander now, what are some of the hardest decisions that you've had to make in your career, sir? If you could share a story or a lesson learned out of that.
Yeah, so I typically I've got one go-to story on one of the hardest decisions I had to make. So for me it was as a commander and it had to do with discipline. Excuse me. I had my number one staff sergeant. So a little background, Japan has a curfew. It's a 3-star imposed general order curfew. Basically, you break it, it's almost automatically an Article 15. Nobody tells you that. Nobody second guess your punishment, but that is basically what happens out there almost across the board entirely. And I had my number one staff sergeant maintainer. Um, we had just done like the EFDP and he had just come out on the tech sergeant select list. Like he was the number one staff sergeant in my squadron of 500. It was his birthday. His Japanese girlfriend had to work the next morning. So when his friends at work were like, hey, let's go out, he was like, no, I'm going to go spend time with my girlfriend. He went into Tokyo. At some point, she goes, hey, I've got to get up early. You need to go home. So he took the train back. And on his way back, his Japanese friends that he played hockey with texted him, was like, hey, come meet us for a drink. We want to celebrate. So he met them for a drink. Or multiple. I don't remember how many. It's really not the relevant part. And he lived off base. And so he finished drinking in time to get home, was walking through a train station, on his way to his house, plenty of time to get home before curfew. Sat down on a bench to rest for a second, fell asleep, and the Japanese cops woke him up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Bam, curfew violation. Um, I won't say he had the best plan, but he was executing it fairly well. Um, and in the conversations about what to do for discipline, um, my chief and my shirt were adamant that the recommendation was Article 15, and it just didn't sit right with me. We went round and round in discussions about the kind of airman he was. He was the maintainer out there, coming in on his off days to teach guys, teaching extra classes at work, trying to bring the level up of the other maintainers, especially in his specialty, but across the board, everything I could actually want and ask for in a staff sergeant and a tech select. My argument was we talk about all these cases are individual. We talk about how every airman is a different situation, and let's analyze these. Um, if there is ever a kid who's going to get a break for all the good that has happened leading up to this, and he had no other disciplinary problems in his background, it's this kid. If he doesn't get a break, I don't see how anybody ever gets a break ever, period, at all. Um, their counter was like, yeah, it's still a curfew violation. And that's not like a mistake. Like you don't turn in the right wrench or you miscount something or you leave a tool somewhere you're not supposed to, or you're not wearing your hearing protection on the flight line. They're like, this is a curfew. This is a 3 stars order that he violated. And I was like, all right, I got it. So slept on it over the weekend. Sorry. New phones can't silence the ringer. Um, Slept on it over the weekend, came back and said, we're going to redline him, but it's only going to be an LOR. He had aspirations of joining a guard unit, becoming an officer, and potentially going to pilot training. I didn't want this mistake to crush that and to remove that completely. And it was the only decision I ever made as a commander where I didn't have one of the two, my first sergeant or my chief, in agreement with the decision we made. Um, and that one was really, really hard for me because it was the first and only time I ever went against their advice. But I really thought about it, and I thought that I got to where the punishment was appropriate for the airman and the crime. Um, and then at the end of it all, when it was all done, my chief at least threw me a little bone and said, "Hey, I don't agree with your." He said "sir" a lot. I'm skipping that part, but he said, "I don't agree with it, but I understand why you made it." And that was enough kind of validation for me that, all right, at least he understands. Like, I'm not way out in left field. I'm not going rogue as a commander. But that was one of the hardest ones that I had to deal with. Um, I will tell you, all of the discipline stuff is hard for me. Um, it's very personal to have to look at an airman and tell them they can no longer serve in the military, or you're separating them, or you're not authorizing their reenlistment. What helps me is that a realization that I am not kicking someone out of the military. I am not choosing that they can't serve again. They made those choices. I'm just holding them accountable. And the accountability is hugely important. And that's where I tend to have to focus my mind on, because it's really easy to get caught up in the personal stories of, not everybody has the same background, not everybody has the same upbringing, not everybody has the same struggles. Um, some people struggle more with addiction or control than others do. Um, but we have a standard in the military, and it's black and white on some things, and we've got to hold people accountable to it. It was really hard for me my first 6 months as a commander. It got easier as I got more accustomed to that style of thinking. Um, and I just encourage you guys to find your way, um, to hold people accountable while also taking care of them. And sometimes, unfortunately, taking care of them means helping them transition to a new life that's outside of uniform. All right, that's all I got on that one.
Thank you for that, sir. As a personal story, appreciate you sharing the insights there. We do have a question that came through the chat, and the question goes: when you took command, either at the squadron or the group level, what was your vision for the organization? How did you form it? And then how did it change you over the time in your command?
All right, Captain Tucker. Thank you for that. Um, so we'll talk more about squadron command. So I've only been in group command for about 9 months. So still kind of working through the second half of that question for my current command. But at squadron command, um, I had ideas on things I wanted to either make sure the squadron did or drove us to do. But the first thing I did was spend 30 or 60 days just getting to know the squadron, getting to know how we do things, getting to know how our processes work, um, and then figuring out what needs to be tweaked. I am not a big believer in massive rudder movements to turn the ship. I think over time you can make enough small increment corrections, to fix culture, to fix processes, to fix where the group is going, to get after things that you think are important based off either new technology that's coming out, new guidance from our political leaders, our political and senior military leaders. So the vision for me is fairly simple. I've got a couple talking points that I use repeatedly. They'll come out in my commander's calls. They'll come out in small group conversations. One of them gets after basically frontline supervisors, that and the guys that are actually in my group have hopefully have heard this one before. Um, but it's basically you've got to know the difference in a bad life and a bad day, for your airmen. Most of us do not directly supervise more than about 10 people at any given time. I know there's exceptions to that, but the way that we tier the ranks out and flow it down like an inverted, no, like a regular Christmas tree, is most of us don't directly supervise more than about 10 people. That gives you the ability to get to know your airmen well enough to know when they're having a bad day, which is fine. We're all going to have bad days. I have bad days. I come in grumpy sometimes. I come in having not slept well, or I just come in a bad mood. It happens. Um, and then the difference in that and like someone having a bad life, because the bad life is what's going to lead to some tragic things, poor decisions across the board, and knowing the difference in a bad day and a bad life allows you to give an airman space or step in and help them get the help that they need. Um, so one of the things I continuously talk about is that gets after frontline supervisor supervision, how I want the leaders within the group and the squadron to lead and look out for their airmen. That was really more of a tangent. I actually didn't think I was going to go there until the end with that one. Um, so um, I also have a lot more things that I want to get after than we have time and the ability to. So I've got to figure out which of my priorities fit within my boss's priorities. Then those are the ones that we get after. If I want to do something that's really indifferent to my boss and his priorities for the wing, it'll typically take a back seat until I have bandwidth to get after it. But you can't get after everything, and I usually choose about three things for us to kind of move out on. And right now in our group, we are moving out on um, equipping our folks and getting after our UTCs so we can be properly equipped for our alert cycle because we're millions and millions and millions of dollars short of everything that we need. Um, Strengthening our group training office so we can better track and then get our guys the training that they need. And then I'll say the third one is readjusting how our manning is coming in. So we have the right folks on alert at the right time as we cycle through the Afrigen cycle. We are a weird group where I have 3 squadrons in 3 different Afrigen buckets. And so I literally will have a third of my group in the available bin for the next 18 months as each squadron goes back to back to back. So managing that and making sure the folks are coming into the right squadron at the right time so we are ready for alert is very important for me. Um, so Joe, I'm not quite sure if that totally answered your question or not. You can come online if you want to follow-ons or anything like that.
No, sir, I think that kind of hit. I'm typically, I just wanted to understand the vision and then kind of your thought process on how you form that. So, it sounds like from your answer, you had that form before you took the name. That was my real point. But I appreciate the answer, sir.
Yeah, I'd say the softer skills, the more leadership driven things is something that I walked into command already kind of having a vision of. The the more like what is the group doing? I had to get here and learn about that first, right? And for me, I mean, it's listening to the group staff chiefs, it's listening to my squadron commanders on what they need help with and what they want to get after and where they think we're missing the mark and where we need to course correct. Um, Always be careful when you're the new guy because they will immediately be like, hey, new guy, we can probably get this through because the last guy said no. Um, so watch out for those when you're the new person. I mean, it happens. Our wing is going to change command in like 2.5 months. And when the new wing commander comes in, the group commanders already have a list of stuff we want to talk to him about. I won't lie. So I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying kind of watch out for it. When you show up new and your airman's like, hey man, we'd really like to try this new thing. It's entirely possible that, the old guy said, hell no. And they're just waiting him out or her out for you to get there so they can try it again. Um, I'm not saying they're all nefarious. I'm just saying use caution. Use caution making big changes or any changes as soon as you show up.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Um, Back in your introduction, you talked about, understanding at the CGO level, your job, taking care of your people. Along the same lines, the question that I have for you, sir, is how do you balance people, mission, and personal growth when you have these competing priorities?
Yeah. So I think work-life balance is a fallacy. Um, and this may be semantics. I think about a better way to articulate this, but so it doesn't sound like it's semantics. But in my mind, work-life balance means when it's even, you're only giving 50% to both. And I don't think that's exactly how it's supposed to be. I look at it, it's like a harmony. So there's work-life harmony for me. Um, and I look at it more like a flow. There are some weeks where work wins, and then there's some weeks where home wins. And when home wins, it's because I get to leave by 5. Um, or I take the leave and I'm not on my phone the entire time. Or I can step away and truly relax on the weekends and not do catch up. Um, and for home to win, I've got to be okay with work basically going on pause. Most of us could probably stay at work till 8 o'clock every night and still have stuff to do the next day. So staying for an extra 30 minutes or an extra hour, I mean, how much of a difference is that going to make? So towards the end of the day, I'm cleaning out anything that has to be done today. Then anything that doesn't have to be done today, by definition, can be done tomorrow. And I can walk away whenever I need to and just pick those projects back up tomorrow. So the balance or the harmony, um, sometimes you blend them. I'm a big reader, so my personal growth and then what I like to talk about, I like to talk about books and podcasts a lot. And I think we'll get to some of that a little bit later. Um, I listen to podcasts. That's how I get my news. I get it when I'm walking the dogs in the morning and the evening. Um, I read throughout the day when I get the chance. I mean, I have a book at work, a book in bed, and a weekend book that I chip away at. Um, so it's never truly in balance because there's too much stuff. I mean, life alone gives you too many things to do without having a job. So it's really the harmony and then being able to prioritize what you need to get done when. So staying organized helps me. Knowing that, you know, on the personal side, if we're going to take a trip, I mean, I can't wait to the week of to book hotel rooms and plane tickets. So I got to do that earlier. But there's some flex in that. But at the same time, maybe this week's not the right week to go research plane tickets because I have 20 OPBs due to my wing on Friday. Right. So that's going to take my attention as I chip away at it. Um, so, yeah, it's probably not a satisfying answer. There's no magic solution to balancing everything that happens. Um, I encourage you to let your personal life, let your home win when it can, and don't fight it and don't feel bad about it. There are some days where you can just leave and pick back up tomorrow, and it's perfectly fine. Um, Along with that, also goes with making sure your foundation is solid and your foundation. The Air Force has done a really good job talking about the comprehensive airman fitness model and the 4 pillars. um, the more stable and solidified those are for you, the more that when you have to surge or you have to go out of balance a little bit, or out of harmony, um, the better off you're going to be and the longer you can last, um, during like surge and crisis situations. So eating healthy, sleeping well, working out, being mentally and spiritually fit and solid there and making sure you're getting any help that you need in those areas. We do those, and the more solid that foundation is, when we go into a surge or we have to go into exercises that are 24/7, or any other kind of crisis that hits you unexpectedly, you can last longer, perform better, um, the more solid your foundation is. And so you've got to give attention to non-work stuff to keep that foundation solid. All right, Chop.
Sure, thank you for that. Definitely taking notes here, personal growth. Along the same lines of personal growth, do you have any tips or advice for the CGOs, how they can improve themselves and those around them? What has worked for you, sir?
Yes. So I do. So the first thing I'll tell you, and I didn't really realize this until I was probably 9 or 10 years into my career, to where I did this mental shift. So you guys are all part of the profession of arms. You're not part of the hobby of arms or the whatever else it could be of arms. It's a profession. Um, to a certain extent, it's not really all that different from lawyers and doctors who have a requirement to continue to read up on changes to the law or changes in medicine and new techniques. Um, you have to stay educated and up to speed on the regulations that govern your job and in your career field, guidance that comes down. But you have to treat this like a profession and not a hobby. And so that was a big, big mental shift for me at about my 10-year point, when I realized what that meant. And I realized it because I was working next to a couple of folks who were just, as senior captains, were fantastic leaders and way, way, way more, way, way above me, um, in their professionalism, in how they handled things, how they thought about stuff. And so I latched onto them and I watched what they were doing, and it really opened my eyes to what it meant to serve in the profession of arms. So along with that, I would tell you that, I mean, you have to read. You have to read or listen to podcasts. You have to stay informed on what's going on around the world. And I know it is really, really hard in this day and age to find fact-based news that's not spun politically one way or the other. But you've got to take the time and find those. And I've got recommendations that I can share at the end if you guys want them, to stay informed on what's going on around the world. In addition to reading books on leadership, which I'm sure you guys or podcasts or audiobooks on leadership, which I'm sure you guys already do. Most of us at that captain level are sharing books pretty quickly that come out, good ones, bad ones. I'm sure there's a bunch of common ones that you guys have all read. But that's getting after your professional growth and your professional leadership. I also encourage you to pick up books on China, Russia, Iran, um, and learn a bit more about our adversaries. Because I'll tell you, they're learning about you. So we need to study them as well. So there's a handful of books by Elizabeth Economy on China that are really good, that just kind of give you a baseline understanding of how their government works, how their culture works. I don't have as many good recommendations on Russia and Iran right now. There are countless books on like the terrorism or extremism out there that you can read to really start learning about our adversaries, or those that we face in great power competition, or whatever the phrase is that we use right now to talk about people we don't like. So I do it that way. For me, it's a lot of books and it's a lot of podcasts. But I'm very, very careful about what I read and listen to, because that stuff stays with you. And so it's got to be, for me, pretty fair and balanced. And so, yeah. So I would say that those, to improve them yourselves, leadership books will help you grow and then help you be a better leader and be that supervisor that your airmen deserve. And then it's never too early to start learning about our adversaries. Thanks for that question, Chop.
Yes, sir. Just a quick reminder to all our attendees, feel free to come on the comms and ask a question yourself as well, or use the chat function, folks. Sir, one of the things that's constant in the military is change. So with change currently in our political environment, and especially in Department of Defense, that's been expressed and observed. What are your tips or advice on embracing organizational change and dealing with stress? Sir, you're muted right now.
Yeah, I remember my first time on Teams. So for organizational change, that's hard. right? And we're going through a really, really big one in the Air Force right now. And I'll be honest, a lot of us probably don't totally understand it. Don't fully understand why it's different than how we're doing things now. It's a long transition period as we talk about reoptimizing for great power competition. So one of the first things you got to do is you just got to kind of trust our senior leaders that they are making informed decisions for a very solid reason. Some of it may be messaging. Some of it may be messaging to Congress or the Joint Staff. Some of it may be internal realignment to better respect our airmen's time and ability. But for whatever the reason is, one, you got to kind of start with trust. None of us are going to be the smartest guys in the room, typically, especially when it comes to the 4-stars. They may not be, may not know many of them, but everyone that I've met seems to be brilliant and extremely smart. And I don't think they get there by being dumb and making bad decisions. We got to be adaptive. So it's a little bit of go with the flow, but it's a little bit more be adaptive to the changing environment. And then this is what we got told when I was at pre-command training prior to becoming group commander. Chief of Staff of the Air Force came down and talked to us and literally looked at us and said, you have to lead through this. So you have to lead through organizational change. You have to continue to be there, take care of your airmen, lead them through it, help them understand what's happening. And if it's not really going to directly impact them, kind of point that out, because they will get stuff from Instagram and Twitter and X, and those are the same things, but all these things that make it sound like, oh my gosh, this is changing. And a lot of stuff, when it boils down to it, don't largely affect people below the squadron level. I won't say that across the board entirely. Some of the executive orders that have just recently come out absolutely affect our airmen and absolutely impact them at a very personal level. Definitely has been a challenge for our civilians and our GS employees as we go through this time right now. But help counsel them, help listen to them, help them get answers and lead through these changes is what I would say for organizational change. And then dealing with the stress piece. All of us have something that brings us peace, right? There are places you can go or things you can do or stuff you can do that helps bring you peace and brings you calm. Embrace those things when you're stressed. There was a period in time in a prior assignment where it felt like all areas of my life were just like crumbling and I was miserable. Work was hard. My boss was very difficult. Broke up with girlfriend. She broke up with me, to be honest. And everything just kind of felt very like everything was like right here in front of my face. I was miserable. I was stressed. I was working till God knows when every night. And so for me, I went and saw the doctor because there was some physical manifestations about what was happening that wasn't good. And they encouraged me to learn how to deal with stress and go do yoga. And so I had never done yoga before. And I was like, whatever, I'll try anything at this point to stop feeling as bad as I do. And it was amazing. And I'm a huge proponent of it. And because I was so bad at yoga, it was an hour of me just trying to figure out when to breathe and when to stretch. And for that hour, I forgot about everything else going on in my life. And I actually felt refreshed afterwards. And it started me on a path to learning how to deal with stress and how to handle things better. I also really enjoy just the peace and calm of walking around a bookstore or just sitting on a park bench somewhere. But each of us will have these things that lets us relax and brings us peace. My wife is very comfortable on the couch with our 2 dogs right next to her, just touching them. And that is what helps calm her down. It's what helps her bring her peace. So they're all everyone's different, but you've got to find those things that help you stay calm, and kind of bring peace into your life when you're stressed, and then lean into those when you need to.
Appreciate that, sir. It looks like we've got a question in our chat. Lieutenant Lam would like to know, sir, what is some advice for CGOs or things you wish you knew as a CGO or your CGOs knew now?
That's a great question. Thank you, ma'am. So a couple things I would say, and these are in no particular order. I'd already kind of talked about treating this like the profession of arms and not a hobby. So I won't reattack that one. I will also say, look at the problems your boss is facing and try and help solve those problems. It's something that you will probably hear more about as you go through your career. But solve your boss's problems. That'll take something off his plate or her plate and really, really help them out. Along the lines of problems, well, when you find a problem or something, typically come with at least one solution when you bring it up. One of the best master sergeants, he retired as a chief that ever worked for me, came to me one day, said, "Hey, sir, we recognize this problem. We already fixed it. Just wanted you to know." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know we had the problem, but now I know it's fixed and I don't have to spend any time on this because you guys took the initiative to figure it out and work through it and solve it." And I entrusted them and completely had delegated down to them the authority to do these things. But it was an amazing moment for me to have somebody come up, not with a problem that they were dumping on me, but just letting me know that they found a problem and they'd already solved it and they just wanted me to know about it, so we could share it with others, the solution. Let's see. More advice for CGOs. Okay, so hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. When you are young in your career, nothing replaces just hard work. You're going to have some super talented individuals around you. They may get things faster. They may be more charismatic. They may catch the eye of leadership better. But eventually, if they are not working hard, you will surpass them and you will get recognized for the hard work that you do. So I don't think anything replaces hard work. I learned this as a young CGO about relationships across the base. They're absolutely vital. So I grew up in flying squadrons, which is like our own miniature version of a CGOC, except we're all wearing the same uniform with flight suits at the time, and we all have the same career field. So not really the CGOC, but we had made friends. We had a bunch of captains in the squadron. We were all together. My brother was a maintenance officer, and he made me come to the CGOC council meetings. And I was the only flyer there. I got made fun of. It was kind of funny. But I was there. And the value of being a part of that organization, where I knew lieutenants and captains all over the base who have different leadership experiences, different problems at work, know completely different things that I don't know about because they work in the FSS or the CE squadron or the LRS. So when I had a problem or one of my airmen had a problem, I actually knew at the lieutenant captain level who to reach out to help get it solved. And at the time, it was usually pay and vouchers for TDYs. But I knew exactly who to go to help solve their problems and get them solved quickly at the AO young CGO level, than having to go through help desks and everything like that. So I was blessed that my brother made me do this, and I learned how important those relationships are. So I'm a huge proponent of being an active member of the CGOC, latching on to your senior NCOs who are very knowledgeable in your area, and learning from them. They've got years and years of experience, and they want you to be successful. The last thing they want is one of their lieutenants or captains to be a dumpster fire at work, because for many reasons. But I'll say they want you to be successful. So lean into them. know where to go for help, and work the CGO network across the base. You guys can accomplish just about anything by working together. You're the action officers on every single project the base does. I mean, every time there's a wing call for somebody to put on something, it's usually a captain leading it. So the more that you have evolved that network at your base and the more plugged into it you are, just the more effective that you can be across the board. Um, and then the last thing I'll say, and this one doesn't always go off extremely well. The Air Force honestly doesn't owe any of us anything. I hear it a lot from folks like, oh, I've done this and this. The Air Force owes me, blah, blah. The Air Force really doesn't. It's a privilege to serve, and it's a privilege to continue to wear the uniform. And the Air Force will put you where the Air Force needs you, not necessarily where you need to be or you want to be. And it's hard. Sometimes you get those wins. The talent marketplace, to be honest, has been extremely helpful in highlighting your desires, and the Air Force match it up. But what I'll tell you is that like you can list all the bases you want to, and they can bid you all they want to. There are bases out there that are not highly desirable that still need CGOs and still need captains and lieutenants to go be assigned there and go work. Um, I won't say what any of them are because it's different per person. Um, I was not attracted to a certain base, and one of my captains got assigned to it, and she was doing backflips. She was so excited to go there because that's where she and her husband wanted to go. It allowed them to do a lot of the things that they found value in their personal life. Um, but it is not a place that I or my wife would ever have wanted to go. Um, so it's just remember, it's every day is a privilege to serve, um, work hard, and then whatever assignments you get, go be the best damn captain or lieutenant there that you can be.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm taking notes over here. I know our time is coming to a close here, respecting your time, sir. Uh, just really turning it over to you, sir, for any closing comments you have. And really just want to say thank you on behalf of the team here and the Department of the Air Force CGOC for making time to be here and sharing your tips and advice.
All right, so I actually got through almost everything that I wanted to say through the questions, which was really awesome because that doesn't always happen. I've got a list of books that I will get together and I'll give to Captain Chopra to send out to you guys, and I will put some podcasts on there, and then a couple of news email distros that I have found to be as close to balanced and factual based and not so politically spun one way or the other to help me stay informed on what's going on. That I'm totally willing to share. Um, you guys, it's a extremely interesting time to serve in the military. As you know, the political nature of our country seems to be more pendulum swinging the last probably decade than it has in a number of years. At the same time, you know, since the early 90s, there hasn't really been another country with the military and economic might to match us. And China's quickly getting there. So that's the impetus behind hearing the great power competition. Um, so it's a really interesting time to lead, but this is when we need leaders the most. We need you to find ways to keep your airmen motivated, keep them educated, keep them tracking to be the supervisors, the next round of master sergeants um, that we need leading in our military and our Air Force. So with that, I thank each of you for taking the time to sit in on this from whatever time zone you're in. I see lieutenants there from the 60th, so this is like 6 o'clock in the morning for her. So I do appreciate you dialing in early. Chop, thank you for setting this up and then recording it so it can be seen and shared by others. Um, If there's anything that I said that you guys want follow-ups on, or you want to dig a little deeper, feel free to email me or Captain Chopra. You can email me directly. Totally happy to engage over email, set up a phone call. And hopefully sometime today I will be able to type out kind of the books, podcasts, and like email distro list that I'm on, to share and see, for you to look and see if they interest you. Great. If not, there are thousands of books and stuff out there that you can get the same information from. These are the ones that I found that work for me. They work for how my mind works. I like how they're presented. I like the lessons that I got out of those books, and the podcast. So pick and choose, see what works for you, and then start developing your own list of how you will stay growing each day as an officer and a human. So with that, if there's any other final questions, that's all I got for you guys.
Sir, nothing heard. Thank you again so much for making time today, and I appreciate everybody else being able to join us. This concludes today's session, sir. Thank you again.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend.